I was intending to save the contents of this video, so rather than record this, I was going to put it in one of my upcoming books. But to be honest, I literally just watched my recent video, one where I said my thoughts on Trump. I literally watched the whole thing to the end. And I do that in my videos. I think it's important. I do, watch back to make sure that the content was good enough, really. And sometimes with my videos, I surprise myself. I might halfway through a video, as I do that sometimes, I might think, I'm not sure this is very good. And I'll watch it back and I think that was great. That was great. That's nice, isn't it? It's a nice feeling to know you did something great, even when you know maybe don't think it's so good. But yeah, so I wasn't going to do it. It's only because I did that video, I thought, well, I might as well, I can get rid I can just do it now. It'd be easier for me to just talk on camera than just sit there typing. Although, it could be, maybe it'd been good for a chapter. Still could go in a chapter later. Who knows? Bit of digressing there, rambling. But the point of this one is the fact that so many people, and I'm mainly thinking about celebrities here, but it's not just celebrities because you see it in other walks of life. And again, maybe not in general so much, but really people in a spotlight. So if they're not a celebrity, maybe they're an influencer on social media, these sort of people. I always find it quite remarkable, not in a good way, how when people finally get a breakthrough, their personality shifts. And almost like their whole identity is altered, almost like permanently. So you see a degradation, and it's strange, isn't it? On the outside, not just on the inside. On the inside, they become more distant. You can see the arrogance in them. It's I find it quite remarkable. But also, you can just see it on the outside. On the outside, you literally see their eyes become withdrawn for some reason, and their face becomes gaunt. It's like all sorts of things happen, and you just look like what happened to them. Like I don't like to judge people like too heavily, but in those situations, I can't help it. I'm like, what the hell happened to them? That's not normal. It doesn't look normal. And so if it happened to one or two people, you would just think, oh, they got caught up in the whole high, the lifestyle that is Hollywood. But when it's like one person after another, and it seems to be happening countless times, it's really, really alarming. I've seen some, let's call it conspiracy, because I think this is where we've got to put it down to. I've seen content on social media where they're suggesting something like potentially untoward is happening in famous people's lives. Like there's something going on here where almost like they're selling their souls. It's almost like this, and that's the conspiracy that I've seen. No, I'm not here to justify that or say that's exactly what's happening. Who's to say? But when you see the before and afters, because you naturally see someone, if you see them, you naturally think, oh, they look different. Perhaps you don't realize how different, but when someone shows you a before and after, it's like, oh my god, that's outrageous. Like the difference is profound. And again, this is just on the outside. But when you look at someone's eyes, it tells you, I think you can tell a lot from someone's eyes. And some of them do look soulless. So it kind of like goes towards that conspiracy, doesn't it? It's kind of like, what is the hell is happening behind the scenes with these people? Like, I talk about it a lot where people chase popularity, and it's a dangerous thing to chase. Some people chase it for anything. I've never understood that. Why do you care if people know who you are? Why do you have to be above other people? Because that's what it represents. For you to be known on a grand scale in any way, it would suggest that you then need to be. If you have it naturally, you gain it naturally. It's not something you seek. If it's something you seek, it suggests a superiority complex, or perhaps you've had an inferiority complex before, and it's like you don't want to be in the shadows anymore. There's all sorts of things, but I'd say seek therapy personally, rather than seek to just sort of embrace a corrupted mindset. But like I say, this is all on the outside, and it may be on a soul level. It looks like they've lost themselves. But even just in the way they behave, though, it's just the arrogance I find quite astounding. I can't remember her name now. I don't really care about celebrities personally too much. I don't get too deep in it, and I don't want to dig at people. Oh, I can't remember what her name is now. So I mean, it's one of the biggest stars on the planet at the moment, and I can't even remember their name. I'm not doing that to be rude. It's just literally, I think it's something Sweeney. Is it Sweeney? Oh, I really can't remember. Is it Me Before You? There's a film she was in. I can't remember, but you see her, and I still, if again, I look at people's eyes. You can tell a lot by people's eyes, and you can maybe you get it wrong, maybe you don't. But just looking at her, I see there's an arrogance that lies behind her that I notice, and I just look and think she doesn't look sincere to me. And again, I'm not saying this like as a. I could talk on Trump, for instance, and there's a pattern of behaviour, and you can watch him for a period of time. You've formed, I think, an objective, abstract opinion here that I think is fair and balanced based on all the information that's out there. With her, this is just personal opinion. This isn't something where I'm saying it's factual, because I think that's important. You can say things about someone and it can damage them. I'm not saying it to damage them, I'm just saying it from my own perceptions, up to people how they interpret people. Because again, we can all form an opinion of people. I don't think that's a dangerous thing. But I just, for me, I think looks like there's an underlying arrogance there. And someone with that level early on in their career, if you was to feed them more privilege and more popularity, if they are arrogant, it's going to surface even more, and it's going to, So I've seen advertisements and things, and it just seems to be amplified. So I already had that opinion, and then I'm looking, thinking, wow, I don't see this going well at all. And now there's reports that there's some co-stars who are not happy with her, and they won't do press tours with her and things. So it's kind of like, well, that's validated to me. I know I'm not. It can make me look like a smart ass in retrospect. Oh, it's easy to say that now. Again, I'm just saying from personal thing. It's not for people to like believe. I'm not here to convince anyone of anything. I'm just saying how I saw it and what the progression's been. And that's just one example. So it's not about picking at people. That's one example of the whole of Hollywood. It happens time and time again, where people lose their values, and that's the main takeaway. And that's the thing I find absolutely frightening, that some people are born with privilege, and I've spoke about it before. It's not necessarily a bad thing. You can't choose where your upbringing comes from, but what you do with your life matters. So, whether you've had privilege or whether you've not, in some ways, I think if you didn't have privilege and you then in the future look down at people who are struggling just because you've got out of that situation and your life's transformed and things, I think that's really losing sight of your beginnings, to understand that if you can do that, someone else can do that. So don't judge someone else who's struggling, because they could literally turn their life around. Don't just think you're the only one that can handle it. That's the thing. That's that like megalomaniac stuff. That's that saying, I'm the only one that can accomplish this. Everybody else is stuck in the gutter. Well, it weren't long ago you was in the gutter. So you should understand how hard it is. You know what I mean? But it annoys me that when people get to the top, they forget their upbringing. They forget other people. And it all becomes about me. And they lose, I just think they lose their values. Their personality shifts in such a dark way. And again, I just see it time and time again. And then you see this detachment from reality. So they live this secluded life where they literally, look, how people spend their money is up to them, isn't it? But I have seen some celebrities come out in a very positive way saying, if we talk about humanity, there should never be a billionaire. And it kind of makes sense, doesn't it? When you think of it like that, it's not saying you don't deserve the wealth you've acquired. It's not to say you don't deserve luxury. My attitude is everybody deserves the opportunity for luxury. And I mean, that's what that's saying. How much do you need to feel comfortable and to feel like privileged? Now, you don't need to keep hoarding it to take away from everybody else. You can literally bless people. But people, some of them, and again, this isn't going with the fame route. This is more to people, the tech billionaires and all those people. They literally could help other people, but they choose so much to hoard for themselves to elevate their own power and prominence. It's just stupid. And again, look, so that's what I'm saying. It's not all about the famous people. This could actually be successful people too. You can see someone, maybe they started off from very humble beginnings and they know what it's like to struggle. And then along the way, they lose sight of reality because they get so caught up with chasing the money. And yet they could have done good things along the way with it, But anyway, that's that side of it. But yeah, if we're going to go deeper, it's like literally when I think of Hollywood, though, I do look and think it's quite dangerous for people to be in that environment, because I can't help but think if you was there's always going to be someone who is more prominent. There's always going to be a more famous actor. There's going to be a famous director. There's going to be someone who has influence. And if they're compromised, a bit like if you talk about Tom Cruise with the Scientology stuff, let's say he was on the set with Tom Cruise with Scientology, and he keeps hammering on about Scientology, and he has a chance. He has influence on who's cast and stuff. I'm not saying he does that, but what I'm saying is that can be quite damaging, can't it? Because it might be that he has to unless you convert to this, or at least listen to him out. So you have to listen to some speech. You won't get the part, or you'll get ostracized in the industry. So you can see how cultist it can get quite quick. Like, and I've no doubt if you just look at these, I haven't got examples up, so people will have to do their research. But when I saw the differences in people's faces and demeanors, it was soulless. It was actually outrageous. You know, they're having their photos taken on, I don't know if it's a media circuit or they've just gone to an event or something like that. And you just think, not only do they look strange, they look strange, but they also don't seem with it. I mean, you could say they're high on drugs or something, but it's beyond that. It's beyond. It's not that. You know, you could see the difference if it was that to a degree, but I don't think to the level, the depths of it. And again, I think it's more telling with the eyes. And like I say, I just find it really alarming that people, when they get opportunity, how much they change. You know, and again, I said it before, it wasn't just about celebrities, and it can even the influencers. They all adapt to the position they hold. I always find it quite surreal. So they behave a different way because now they have the spotlight on them. Effectively, they just start to have this image of grandeur where now they feel like a star, so they act like the star. You know, some people might not see a problem with it. For me, I just think, why would you change who you are? Why change who you are at your core, though? You know, just because now you believe some hype around yourself. Because ultimately, like, people follow as fads a lot of times. If you're talking about social media, it's fads. So one thing that's a fad at the moment, it'll be forgettable later. So if you're known for this fad, it's like, well, what's going to happen when this star fades? Because it's interesting for a moment, and then eventually it's not so interesting. And then people will wonder why they even put people on pedestals in the first place. Personally, I think that's really where change will come, in the sense that, you know, people, maybe they won't sort of adore people so much. Maybe they focus on their own lives. Try and uplift yourself rather than keep putting other people on a pedestal and sort of look over the. But it goes beyond all that, doesn't it? It's like if you was given an opportunity to progress in your life, like in a profound way, and maybe, you know, it's just money. Maybe it's money's thrown at you, or maybe it's just limelight. Would you stay the same? Now, you can evolve. You can set boundaries in your life. You start seeing who's really there for you. That's different. It's like, at your core, does your personality shift with it, or do you stay who you are? Because that's interesting, isn't it? Because so far I'm just seeing time and time again. Again, I think Hollywood's the obvious one because you get to see what people were like before, because there's usually some home videos, there's usually stories. Sometimes they grew up with Hollywood, so like maybe you saw them earlier stages, you've seen them in all sort of areas. And then later on you see this different, you could argue they've matured, but they look different and they seem different. I'm not going to start picking out names. There's names that's popping into my head right now, but I think it might seem like I've targeted people, which wasn't really the aim. But there's names popping into my head right now, and it's like, oh, yeah, that's going to be interesting watching them, because the fame gets to people's heads. Maybe they mix with the wrong people, I don't know, but there's just something off. And it does seem cultist, to be honest. That's how it seems to me. If I'm going to put a term on it, I think it seems cultist. There's something underlying wrong that people seem to sell out to, and it drains them. So they lose themselves for something else. And it's like, for what was it worth it? Effectively, almost like they become a human shell. Some of them, like, it's like outrageous to say, isn't it? But if you see what I've seen, it's like it is absolutely mental. But again, there's so many layers here. You've got the ones that sort of sell out. They seem to sell out, and then they lose all their faculties. They lose what made them a star. You know, they lose what made them stand out because they sold themselves out. That's one side. The other side is they just get arrogant as shit. It's outrageous. It's like almost like they had this impression. I think some people are so fake. So they've got to where they want to get to by maybe kissing ass, by saying the right things at the right time, and then acting like they're really, really invested. I wouldn't be surprised if that happens. And then when they finally get the position they've wanted, like the notoriety, all of a sudden the real version of them comes out, and they're snooty, and they don't respect people, and they demand all this, and they demand all that, and it's just disrespectful. And you can see it. But the thing is, I just think things catch up with people anyway. So effectively, with all those things in mind, why do people not just be true to themselves in the first place and just be themselves? Like, how hard is it, really? It's just crazy. But but people, they they get like power crazy. That's what it is. It's like they get power. They seem to get this like it's almost like a sugar rush, and they lose literally their identity in the process. And many times you can't get it back. And you see some people actually go crazy, like they go absolutely mental, don't they? Go off the rails. Now, sometimes that can come from influences, and it can come from maybe the experiences you've had, and you've been maybe they've been abused in the process. Because I think in the entertainment industry, it's not as rosy as it looked. I mean, you see two examples. I probably could give the example. I can't remember her name now, though. I'm going to say it, but I think I've got it wrong. Amanda Bynes. If you think of Amanda Bynes, but I can't remember. I don't know how to spell it. I know how to spell it, but I don't know how to say her last name. I think people know what I mean. Um, she was in a lot of teen comedies in the past. And then you've got Britney Spears. They both seem to have gone completely off the rails. And not for me to. It's not for me to judge them, because that's a different side of, I think, the entertainment industry, where they were potentially abused, taken advantage of. They lost their childhood. I think that's really where that comes from. Now, you could go on a whole therapy session with this, but I can't help but just think that they need to reset. You need to drop the trauma that's burdening you your whole way through your life. You know, it's like you just need a reset and just find yourself again. Find that inner child that's waiting to come out, and remove the things that really hurt you in your past, because carrying it forward is just killing you on the inside out. And you see it on them. They're just destroyed. They don't look good. But I mean, anyone can heal. But I think sometimes you just got to make peace with things that happened in your life, even if it was traumatic and, you know, it was life changing. I don't think it's fair for yourself for it to kill you. That's how I feel personally. So I think sometimes you just got to like make peace with it. Say, look, that happened. It's no denying it. You don't. It's not a case of, oh, I just forget about that. You just have to learn to live that it happened. Then you're still standing, and you were successful during those periods too. So I think that showed a level of resilience. So you start to look for the qualities that you possess. So I think there are tragedies and like collateral damage as well, because this goes full circle there. Actually, without even thinking about that, I was just thinking about like the losses, the struggles, and I think it's just sad how damaging it is, and how they don't sort of like turn it around, because you don't need to carry trauma with you your whole life. You know, sometimes you've just got to make peace with it somehow and get through it, and then do the healing process rather than self sabotage. You don't have to hurt yourself to feel like it's something. You've learned to feel, I think, embrace love in your life if you can just start to love yourself. So it all comes full circle. But again, I think that goes there as well, where I said about people go on power trips and they get caught up with like fame and privilege and power, you know, even behind the scenes. So if we look at Amanda Bynes and you look at Britney Spears, for instance, you think they are very traumatized by what experiences they've had. And they're just two examples. There's others. You've got Corey Feldman. We've heard about him as well. So there's victims of the industry, isn't there? So if there's victims of the industry, that means there was pariahs hanging around the industry anyway. So I think that's the evidence within itself, isn't it? That something's not right within the entertainment industry. But how compromised do we make ourselves for things? Now, they were only children at their age. They were only young. I don't think they could really make the decisions for themselves. So who in their inner circle allowed them to be exploited? That's a different question entirely. That is something that needs to be investigated, really, doesn't it? But if you're older and you allow yourself to be exploited for things, I think that gets a bit more crazy. Because like we're seeing boxing recently, there was a fight in boxing, and it was just one fighter. I'm not going to start picking out names, but I think it'd be quite obvious if anyone's aware of boxing. I don't really agree with it all anymore. I think gladiatorial stuff is just pointless, hurting each other physically just for entertainment. It's like they're better than the Romans, you know. But I'm not going to go down that tangent there. but one had to lose a lot of weight, which made them almost a shell of themselves. They couldn't really be the athlete they needed to be, which is dangerous. People making it up like it's saying it's excuses. It's not. It's you can see how it's actually dangerous for them. But they signed the contract, so you're dancing with the devil in a sense, aren't you? You're playing with your health for money, um, so there's other aspects in any industry, isn't there, where people just literally they'll chase anything. I know this video is all over the place because I'm still processing it myself, and it's like if I was writing it in my book, this would have all been layered out in the way I'm talking, and then I would have fine tuned it, edited it, sculpted it, removed certain parts to make the power. It would be more sculpted. So it's. But I really just wanted to get it out there, really, just to say to people that don't lose who you are in the process of accomplishments. You can evolve, you can grow, but don't sell yourself out, and don't lose the spark that made you shine in the first place, because that's the thing. What it is, people lose that because it's like they believe the hype. So maybe there's something really, really endearing. That's a quality that people really were attracted to. But because your arrogance got caught up in people's attention on you, you lose that spark. And an arrogance just forms over you. And it's like that aura is not attractive at all. So the star fades. And then some of those people will end up turning to substances and stuff because they can't handle the rejection. People have a hard time with that. You fight so long to achieve something, and then they destroy themselves at the end. It doesn't make any sense, does it? It's never made sense to me. How hard is it to be like fair with people? Like, I just don't understand that. So if you think about like when I said about I can't remember her name, so I can't even say it. Sweeney. I keep thinking the word Sweeney in my head. I'm sure it is her. Again, it's a perception I have. I'm not saying she is a bad person, but it's just an arrogance that seems to be that I witness in her that I think is there. And it's like if you just lost that arrogance, you would be considered attractive. But even if you have attractive features, let's say that, because if you've got that's not enough to carry someone through life. That's not enough. Anyway, I don't want to sidetrack too much. Hopefully, this has made some semblance of sense. Like I said, if I was doing my book, I'd be fine tuning it. This had been edited. I would have been up. I personally think with the way I've gone with this, because my mind's all over the place, because there's so many layers. When it's a layered thing, I need to be able to work my way through the thoughts and then bridge the gap between each topic, if you like, because it's all one. It all encompasses the same topic, but there's certain examples of, and then you'd merge them, of course. So that's how I would be working on that. But hopefully it's gone some way, really, just to show people that it's like don't lose yourself to an industry, and don't lose yourself to a popularity contest. It's just a waste, isn't it? It really is. Like, you fight so hard to change your life around, like to have a better life, and then when you get there, you lose all moral compass. It's like sometimes it's worth thinking about the person you was before your breakthrough. What would you have wanted for yourself? What's the life you want from that? And it's kind of like maybe keep that vision. Do you know what I mean? For instance, I'll put myself as an example here, because I was thinking, again, this might be a bit deep. I was thinking about it this morning because my life is hard. I talk about it. I don't think people quite realize how hard it is at times. It's lonely. I'm lonely. Right. I'm going to just layer this here. We're going to do this. We'll do a little therapy with myself, shall we? So life is lonely. Finances are really, really hard. Like, it gets hard. And I self-sabotage sometimes. So, I think when you're at a low point or you're isolated, you have things missing, you'll naturally gravitate towards something. With me, I like gaming. I like films. I like music. But for the most part, different seasons bring out different parts of me. That's what it is. In the colder seasons, I'm probably going to play games more, watch films. In maybe different other periods, I might read a little bit more. And other periods, maybe I enjoy my music and I still watch films. It goes in cycles with me. So I'm at a very heavy gaming stage, and I'm spending money on games that I really can't afford, but I kind of want them. I'm a gamer. So there's a self-sabotage within finances that doesn't help. So it exasperates a situation that's already precarious, and then I have to reap the consequence of that. So there's a self-sabotage there, right? And I get it. But I'm aware of it, so I'll work on it. There's a loneliness, but I'm getting to I don't trust people anymore, and I've spoke about it in other videos. I just don't, and it's that. So there's a yearn for someone to be compatible. You just wish you could have a soulmate, you know? I don't want a big community of people around me. I don't trust people enough to do that. And people drive me nuts sometimes, to be totally honest. I really spoke about pockets of society because that exists, you know? There's no point in sugarcoating it. You know, I'm not here to sort of like say everybody in the world's horrible. It's just I haven't found many good examples of good. So it's like I don't need the drama. I want to help people heal, but I want people to heal on their own. Like, it doesn't mean that I'm included in that healing process, if you like. I don't need I don't need drama in my life. You know, there's enough. So I've been single for a long time. I think 8 years at this point. 2017. That's crazy, and it gets hard on different layers. You know, there are different layers. There's the physical intimacy. There's having someone in your daily life. There's having things to do with someone. You miss it. It makes you lonely. It makes you sad, and it does. But then conversely to that, I can't help but think about how sad I would be in the wrong company, how draining it would be, how annoyed I'd be, how reactive I'd be, you know, because I'm not someone that allows myself to be suppressed. I don't allow anyone to dominate me. I work harmoniously with the right people. So if I was in a healthy relationship, it would be harmonious. It'd be beautiful, you know, give and take. Yeah, I get it. You know, it would work. It'd just be a blend. When someone just maybe they act nice to begin with, so they try to make you fall in love with them, and then they become they become too dominant. They try to suppress you, or they try to make up accusations. You know, all the negative side comes, and it's awareness of that. So as lonely as I get sometimes, and maybe fed up, I just can't help but think I'll be more fed up in a toxic situation. So I don't trust people. So I'm closing myself off to dating. So I'm making peace with being lonely, effectively. And that's how I am at the moment. Doesn't mean I don't believe there's a love that could exist, but I don't have much hope right now. So I say all that just to place where I'm at. Right? If my star brightened and I had opportunity and there was a level of privilege, I wouldn't lose sight of who I am, what got me there. You know, it's not a case of change who I am because all of a sudden I have something, all of a sudden arrogance shines over me and I think I'm better than everyone else. I would just acknowledge that I've healed and I would still want to give people the tools to heal themselves. But we've already established that I don't want a lot of people around me. So just because if I was doing better, it doesn't mean I want a lot of people around me anyway. So it wouldn't be from arrogance. It's more like a self-preservation I already have over my life now. But I wouldn't want to not help people. And it's easy to say now, but yeah, I would want to. I'd want to see people do well, and if there's ways I could help people, and I know they genuinely need that help, and I know they would do good with it, then I would want to help them. It wouldn't always be financial, but if you're in a position where you can, why not? But again, it would be on I think a term by term basis based on people's lives. But again, I also want my peace. You know, I want to be happy. So there is that level of detachment to a degree, but not in a toxic way. It would be more about my own space, like in the same way I have it now. Um, And yeah, if one day you, because like, I'm spiritual, so I can't help but think sometimes you haven't met your person because you're not where you're supposed to be. You know, maybe the person I meet is at a more successful stage of their life, and I need to match that success to be able to meet them. And then it's maybe now we both know how hard it was to get where we are. It could be things like that. We just don't see it yet. Um, But I don't see change defining me and I don't see change altering me. It might give me different opportunities, but it still wouldn't change the fact that I want people to do well. It wouldn't stop me talking about topics that I talk about now, just in case, you know, I'm not going to do that. It's not a case of, oh, I'm going to stop talking about that because I don't want to lose what I have now. That's not the case at all. A big part of where I end up in the future may be off the back of the fact that I do talk about those things. And I see that a lot with these celebrities. They're terrified to talk about real issues because they've already established themselves and they don't want to lose what they've built. And it is self-preserving, and it's just, I think it's easy when you don't have a lot to judge them. Um, but it does seem to me to be, yeah, a bit weak. It is really, it's a bit shameless, isn't it? But it is what it is. But yeah, I think everyone has something they're working through, and as people have dreams. But like I say, if I was doing well, I would want to travel more for sure. I would want holidays. Not necessarily. Thing about me is, I'm just I don't think people could put me in a box. They wouldn't understand. Yeah, I don't think people would truly understand me. I think there'd be misconceptions, and I'll just let them. I don't care. I'll just let misconceptions happen. So like, I want to travel more because I've spent most of my time not being able to travel, and it annoys me because I enjoy it. But I understand where's safe and where's not safe. So I'm quite pragmatic. I'm not a stupid individual, not reckless. But I wouldn't want to live a life that is segregated from reality, if you like. So let's say I was going on holiday. Yeah, it'd be nice to have a luxury holiday because I've not had those. That'd be really nice to see other parts of the world, other parts of life. But this is where I say people wouldn't understand. Let's say you went. I really want to see. Is it Lake Como in Italy? There's certain places in Italy really look nice. Tuscany looks nice. That's not particularly expensive anyway. But there's places I'd go if I was in a relationship. These are places that I'd consider romantic that would be wasted on my own. So yeah, there's places in my mind I think that'd be a really nice place to share with someone. That'd be nice. So there would be instances like that if you could afford to. But then I'd also I like the normal holidays, where you would just go on a coach trip. Like you'd go somewhere on holiday, they'd have excursions, you do a coach trip for the day. It's not particularly expensive. It's a little bit hot and stuff, but I would still do that. So if I was wealthy, for instance, I would love to take whoever, like if I was in a relationship with someone, you genuinely love, we go on these romantic getaways. I'd love all that, but I'd also enjoy just as much, or probably, maybe not just as much, because if you're romantic with someone, I think it's probably the happiest you could be realistically. But aside from that, I would still want to do the basic holidays, live a normal life, because it's not about the money, it's the experiences. And I would still want to do the excursions on a coach and just do what everybody else is doing. Because I think that's a lot of the people who I think get privilege, I think they just lose sight of reality. They get so caught up in whatever they're doing. They just I don't understand it. Like there's some beautiful, I was in Crete, right? I love Crete. I would probably buy a home on Crete if I could. I love it. And I've been, so effectively I was in Hyrcanus. I can't say the names. So that's near Heraklion. So it's not really in the center, north center. So it's in the center of Crete. I've been on coach trips through Rothmian to Hania, or Chania, but they say Hania over there. So Hania is one of the furthest west you can go. There's still some more. There's still like the Pink Beach. I can't remember the names now, but there's some others. Is it Balos Beach to the northwest? So I'm aware of things. So there's still a little bit further west I could go, and there's still a bit more southwest I could go. I haven't been to the south of Crete. I've only been to northern sides. So I've been all the way to the east to Vi Beach, which has got palm trees. It was used apparently in a Bounty advert. So I've been on a coach trip all the way across from there to there and bits in between. Some of it's sketchy. I don't like heights. The mountains were frightening as shit, going on minibuses and stuff. And I can't remember if we actually used a coach. I think we used a coach to Hania and Rothmian, but it was like a smaller one, a smaller minibus thing going up to, I say up to Vi Beach because it was literally wiggling through the mountains. It was scared to share me, to be totally honest. So I'm not sure. I'd have to know the routes. What I'm saying is those are experiences that if you was famous, for instance, or wealthy, just say wealthy from now on, and you decide I'm going to hire a helicopter and go from there to there, you're missing out on the journey. That's what I'm talking about. You're missing out on the journey of life. These were great moments. We had to stop off on the coach to as it was getting to Rothmian to go to Hania. There was a little coffee space. It was like middle of nowhere. Across the road, the main road, was more shops. It was a better place. But the coach company had a deal. I think they had a deal or some sort of business arrangement with this smaller establishment. So we had to get there, but it felt authentically Greek, So we just got a coffee and a little stop, and then we continue on our way. And then as we come back, as you get towards Heraklion, it's an incredible view. You're coming through the mountain. It's not like deep mountain, it's just a cliff thing. But it's frightening because you're like, whoa, you're coming down. It's quite steep, and there's a barrier as it bends right. But if you was coming down there fast or your brakes have gone, that barrier ain't stopping you. Your coach is whatever vehicle you're in is going to end up in the sea, from height. that's frightening to me. Like, Jesus, let's just get safely. Because I'm naturally an overthinker. So I think someone who doesn't think isn't going to find a problem with it. For me, it's like, well, I know we've digressed a lot, but I just want to show the reality of living a normal life. It's like these are experiences that I will cherish. And these are experiences I'd always want to have. So the idea that you go to some posh hotel, you're waited on all the time, your standards are that high, you expect people to always meet your needs. It's like, I don't want servants. I'm a very self-sufficient person. And I definitely wouldn't. I like that. I like to be able to just walk around. If I'm on holiday, I like to be able to peruse and just walk around the shops and the street and stuff. I just want to enjoy the ambience. I don't want to have an entourage following me. I don't want to have to feel like I'm in this like cocooned safety bubble. It's like I don't. And that's how I see this. Like if you're talking about fame and celebrity, I see a lot of them living like that. And yet you see Keanu Reeves. He just blends in New York and things. He just blends in with people because he just doesn't want all that either. And I think that shows the humility of an individual. So when I see Keanu Reeves, I always look and just think that's someone who just embraces life. He wants to. You can see it. He just wants to. He just wants to feel life. It's not about the money. But anyway, I know this is a bit of a rambly one. It's going to maybe deviating all over the place, but hopefully it's shown some examples. I think the good things in life and maybe not so good things in life. And like I say, before we get to there, I think I lost track. When I woke up this morning, I was naturally thinking, of course, because I've got a lot of stress on me. It's always there. And I just thought about all the things that are just occupying my mind at the moment. A lot of it's financial, to be totally honest, but I thought about it. And this is where I'm saying I'm a deep thinker, so I'm always processing. And I just thought, oh, for God's sake, I've got to sort this out. I've got to sort that out. It's always something on my mind. It's always something to balance and juggle. And then I was thinking, you're thinking, oh, I'm done with relationships. I'm not even bothering with people anymore. Like, it's doing me head in. I can't even bother to even think about anybody anymore. Like, I'm just getting to that point where it's switch off my mum and my daughter. That's all I'm interested in now. So straight away, I was just thinking, like, money would solve. What do I need the most at the moment? It's like money would solve the problems. Money would solve the problems. And I straight away just thought, well, money also brings its other problems. So I sit there thinking about it because it's worth doing that. Like you're desperate to get out of one situation, so you end up in another one maybe one day, but not necessarily that other. You may look back at the time of struggle and think that was a better period of your life. There's a level of freedom, no expectation, all those things. So I just thought, yeah, money solves that problem, but it can have other problems. Like people treat you different because you got money. People treat you different when you haven't got money. That's a funny thing. But you'll find the people who treat you different when you haven't got money, the ones that leave you alone, which is kind of what I like. When you have money, now people will want to be all over you. That's an interesting difference, isn't it? So all of a sudden, you don't have your independence or your space as much, unless, of course, you establish it. So there is that side of things, of course. And there's more expectation. For instance, if you was to have money, what's the obligation with that money? What contracts have you agreed to? What have you got to do? That's not in a negative way. It might be in business. It could be you've just got engagements. There's things you got to do. Not in a bad way. It's just you're busy. Maybe you don't have the space for your own things all the time. Maybe in poverty you have more space and time into yourself. You just lose time. I think you lose the level of freedom. That's all I'm saying. Not necessarily in a bad way. Again, balance. But yeah, I was thinking about that. And then again, like I said about the relationship thing, I get lonely sometimes, and it's like, but the wrong person, it would just do my absolute head in. So I thought about that. I thought, yeah, but if you end up in a relationship and it doesn't work out, the chaos that comes with that, the upheaval that's been established to have that, like you being single right now, although it's been a long period of your life, you're free. You're literally free. Like, so that's all I was processing this morning, and I'm just trying to show that you can literally be self-defeating to a degree. You might think the worst of your circumstance, but it's always well worth thinking of the other side and be realistic with it and say, look, not everything works out. Not everything's as glamorous as it looks. So although life's hard, you're surviving through it. So how hard is it really? How bad is it really? Obviously it's bad because, I'm having to juggle groceries and wonder whether I'm having to balance that quite bad. Again, my own doing to a degree. I've already established that I've spent more on games than I should. But it does mess my grocery bill up. So some months I'm like, well, like even this month, I might only be able to do the one grocery shop that I had at the beginning of the month, and it's got to last all month. Whereas I think we're middle of the month now, so it's kind of like I'm looking, thinking, can I get another 2 weeks out of what I have? At a push, probably. Not comfortable, not ideal, but I may have no choice. And that's what I'm talking about. That's the level I have to live with at the moment. And it's kind of, again, partly I'd say partly, it's probably self-done, self-imposed. It is self-imposed. No partly about it. That's my own doing. And I take ownership of that, It doesn't make it easy. And it's obviously, if I had more money, that would solve the problem, wouldn't it? Of course, that would solve the problem. So you do naturally think, that's what I need right now. Because it's a natural need, like you need food. Anyway, this has been a rambly video. I just hope it's given some perspective, though. Like, that's all I really wanted it to be. It was more about, we can have big dreams in life and we can want things, but it's like, don't look up at the role models that are not real role models. That's really what it is. It's like you could look at these people and just think, I want to do that, I want to be that. But look at them. They're a mess. Most of them are a mess. Either self-done or someone's abused them. But the ones that have been abused have really got to find peace in their life. They've got to find peace in their life, because I'm watching people destroy themselves. Not on I don't want to be rude, but not like on a basis where I'm observing, because I'm not wanting. It's only I see it every now and again. It's not something where I'm monitoring their journey. It's like I'm just aware of it, and then I just get on with my own stuff, because we've all got our own processing to do. But I do hope they find peace in their life before it's too late, because I just don't think anything's worth losing ourselves for. You have to cut your losses. Sometimes you have to adapt and start a new life, but you can only really start a new life if you make peace with the old one. Because if you keep carrying nightmares with you, it's a bit like where people do that as well. We're going off topic, but maybe the whole thing is a topic. I don't know. You see people who are not happy with their life, so they just want to move. The problem is, if you haven't established why you're not happy and started working towards improving it, and it's just like, maybe relocation is the answer. If you've established that that's it, you don't like the location, you'll be happier over somewhere, that's great. If it's a fact you're just running away from a situation and a circumstance, there's a good chance you're going to attract the same circumstance again, because you haven't learned the lesson. Like in my life, my brother, for instance, he's always liked drinking. So he moves, stops drinking for a while. It looks like, he's changed his life around. Then he finds the pub, and then he's drinking again. So what's his lifestyle? Same as it was before. It doesn't matter where you place yourself. If you can't change your lifestyle and you can't find some self-control, your life is going to be very similar no matter where you place yourself. So if you can't control your body, for instance, and you're always in and out of, I wouldn't even say relationships, situations. Let's say someone's always at like a body count. Let's say someone's like that. They can't find some self-control. Everything's attached to the value of how someone treats them, how they feel in a single moment. So they're just sleeping around all the time. And then maybe they think, I can't live. Everybody thinks so bad of me, or I don't feel good about myself, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to move. So they move. And then they start the whole process all over again. You're not learning your lesson. Everyone has desires, but some of us have self-control. And we realize how toxic and dangerous it is to live that sort of lifestyle. But some people haven't figured that out for themselves. So they think by having all that attention from other people, even though they have no value on you, because they literally don't even respect you, they literally get what they want and leave, and they still feel like they're valuable to people. People have shown you they don't respect you. So if you're going to feel, eventually over time, it's going to make you feel low. Like, yeah, maybe you're attractive on the outside, but what does it say about you on the inside? That's the question. That's where the insecurities have come from. It's really important you have a strong internal rather than just focus so much on the outside. Anyway, it's just pretty rambly. I'm a bit worried about it being rambly, but I'm not confident. It's one of those ones where I had an idea and there's so many angles I haven't processed entirely yet. And like I say, if I was doing the book, it will be included in the book, because it's in that topic of conversation really where I'm heading. But I'll go through the video myself and just figure out what I was trying to say. I think really it won't be so long. I mean, 44 minutes. I thought we was going to be talking for like 10. I've probably rambled a lot and it's probably lost a lot of direction. But it happens. I don't make notes. If you see my eyes sometimes in my videos, because I watch my videos back, and sometimes I look left and right. That's me just thinking. My screens are blank. It's just me. I just see my camera. So it's quite obvious, I think, by this video that it's really disorganized, pretty much. An idea goes over to this, and then it triggers me to remember what I was thinking about with something else, and it's like all over the shop. But yeah, I didn't want it to be attacking individuals because I've tried my best to stem away from that, to mentioning names, because it can be quite dangerous if you accuse someone of something and it's like not true. I don't think it's not fair. Of course, there's a legal basis as well, but I don't really care about that. It's more about it's not reasonable to say things about people if it's not factual. But yeah, I think you can have a personal opinion on things. I don't think that's so bad. So you're not saying this is exactly what the person is. It's just this is my impression of them. I don't see how that's a bad thing. I think you can have an impression of anyone. Yeah, I'm open. I'm really open. It's not what I wanted it to do, really, to be honest. Because part of it, really, part of the big part for me was just how people sell their souls, especially when they get to somewhere, they get an opportunity and they just lose themselves. I just don't understand. Like, I've just established the life I want for myself, you know? Like, it's not, I just spoke about the travel there. I got so caught up with the travel. But there's little bits in my life. I'm a private person. I might talk on camera and I do all these things, but I'm someone who does value my independence. I do value my space to myself. So there's a level of solitude. So I would want a nice home, a home that I find cozy, a home where I have space to do the things that maybe I don't always have the space to do. So if you could have a bigger home, it would facilitate things. Just because most of my time would be spent at home. I'm a homebody, but I do want to travel. I do want these experiences, and if there was responsibilities, I have to attend things. You attend things, but overall, I would want my home to be my sanctuary. So yeah, but let's say you was doing well in life and you got a nice home and people judge you for it. Well, the one thing I would expect to have is a nice home. I don't care about having a nice car. I don't really care about the car, but I would want a nice home. That's your stability. That's your base. That's where So yeah, I wouldn't. So I'm saying that here and now. If I could have a nice home, that's something I would really want for sure. Yeah. Anyway, I don't know. I wouldn't change being me. That's the thing. I'm me. I don't sell out. So, I've already spoke before about setting boundaries with people. I've said that before. I don't trust people anymore. So there is that side of life at the moment. But I'm not someone that closes myself entirely. I know good people when I meet them. So it's not a case of I never trust anyone again in my life. I'm not like that at all. But I think when it comes to like love and relationship, I think it's important we're a bit more discerning with that for sure, because you could waste so much time with someone. They could be so disruptive, and people wear masks. People will say all the right things sometimes. And the reality is, I just think in terms of relationships, I'm not saying everyone, because I don't think that's the case at all, but a lot of people cheat. And I don't think it's gender specific. I keep hearing it all the time where one gender says it about the other. I'm sorry, both genders do it. It's just some people literally have no self-control and no respect for the person they're in. So it's not. So I think it's multiple layers. They've got no respect for the person they're with. They've got no self-control, and they literally have no sort of ability to face challenging situations. So if there's something going on at home that makes you unsatisfied, not having the decency to have that conversation with someone you consider your life partner, I think just says everything about someone, even if it's something intimate. Let's say something's happening in the bedroom that's not happening in the bedroom, but not saying it. And then you go and have a situation with someone else to fulfill some sort of fantasy. I think that's just weak. I'm sorry, that's weak too. It's like you have a conversation with someone just because it's awkward. If you're with someone and that's supposed to be that's someone is considered your partner, you should be able to talk to them about any aspect of your relationship, whether it's physical intimacy or whether it's something else like banking, your finances, whether it's your career goals, anything and everything, even just like your daily activities and things like that, and even just little chores around the home. I don't think it matters what it is. Nothing should be off the table. And yeah, I think, okay, let's say you're in a relationship and you've tried to have that conversation and the person doesn't listen or they won't go near it. They just keep deflecting. Well, I think at that point, it's like you've got a decision to make. Personally, if someone's not going to be mature enough to handle a conversation with me and they're going to be very immature handling situations, it's like, well, that's going to that would probably end the relationship anyway. I'm not going to go through life eggshells or pretending this is okay when it's not because someone else can't handle a conversation. That shows me they're not ready to handle me, you know? So I think that we have to call time on this. So you have to sometimes get away from the physical attraction to people as well. And I say that a lot. A lot of time we attach the idea of our soulmate to the wrong people. So sometimes it's that the idea of the soulmate is attached to someone. So the idea of losing them makes us think we're losing our soulmate. But clearly, if you're not compatible, you're not compatible. Well, if you're not compatible, that's not your soulmate. But I think have the decency to end something before you even try to investigate something else. And again, these are different things, but again, standards. And I think this all goes encompassing because you see a lot of people, they get popular and they start sleeping all over the place, don't they? They start treating people like they're meat and they just think they deserve everything. And they know they're going to always have attention. So they could always gratify themselves in that way. But then they end up living a very shallow life. But anyway, I know it's been all over the place, but I just thought I'd cover some bits really.